All right, well, let's not kick it off with Bell Biv DeVoe just yet. Let's save that for 22, shall we? All right, well, kicking it off. It's 10:30. We'll give a few minutes for the the pros to join. It's great to see your smiley faces. I love that your video is on. Doesn't have to be, but of course, it makes it much more interesting for the listener, aka the speaker, to just see and read and interact and all the good things. So if you're not in an entirely awkward place, we'd love to see you. Welcome, welcome. If you see some friends that need to be on here that are with Village, go ahead and text them now and tell them they're about to miss out on the master, the myth, and the legend, about to drop some super knowledge on you, the Nick Irwin Up in the Attic. It's truth, friends. It's truth.
It is true that I'm in the attic.
I'd like to also give a special shout out to our friend Lon, who I was reading a post on the Village exclusive. Don't know why I was 6 days back, but Lon posted, "Do me a solid and help me sell these 2 condos." And I don't know why. I just loved it. Something I never thought I'd hear Lon say was "do me a solid."
Yeah, even the OGs can learn the lingo, right?
Absolutely, I loved it. That was the highlight of my 2 in the morning or whatever time I was scrolling. So thank you for that. I love it. I love it.
And by the way, do me a solid and help me sell those 2 things.
That's right.
Show them.
All
Show
right.
them, tour them, post them on Facebook.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Man,
Bring your clients.
This is a great class today. We've got lots of shiny, beautiful faces on here, and pups. I love it. If you've ever seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, immediately when the video came on today for education, Whit Murray, who's we used to work together, he was on my team, and if you remember that line, he immediately posted, "Where'd you get that jacket, man?" If you remember the scene with Spicoli and the old mustard yellow sports jacket from ABC Sports, and the first thing he's like, "Hey, where'd that jacket?" No, all right, might be showing my age. Well, we're going to kick it off in about 1 or 2 minutes. It's 10:33. I like to give everybody 3 to 4 minutes to log on, and in true fashion, we still see some folks joining on here. So welcome, welcome. If you're playing at home, if you're not in too awkward of space, we'd love to see your shiny face but you don't have to have your video on. This will be recorded in true fashion and will be posted on the VTalk playlist of the Village Education YouTube. If you have questions as we go through, and typical, if you haven't been on classes with us before, just put those in the chat or raise your hand. I'll be taking a look at or watching the panel cameras here, and we will turn it over to Nick Irwin. And I want to give a special shout out to the amazing Robin Nelson. If you don't know her, you need to. She is a rock star in her own right. She is a contract to close master, team leader, operations aficionado, and we're glad she's on here today. And she runs the show over there at the Attic and East, and we're forever grateful that you're on the Village team and that we have access to all the things that you share. So thank you, Robin, truly. You really, really are. Really, really great. All right, well, that's enough of my terrible radio play intro and space filler. Next time we'll let the pros, Emily Warner, do that. I'm going to turn it over today. It is all about marketing, and I say building referrals for life, but ultimately that's just what it comes from. And doing great marketing is that you can build a pipeline that you'll never have to do too much cold prospecting. So I hate with saying without further ado. So without further ado, with further ado, there, I did it. Nick Irwin, everybody, put your hands together.
Oh, thanks, Ted. Can everybody hear me okay before I just launch into this? Cool. And one more thing, can everybody see that okay, since I have shared it? Thumbs up, everybody? Cool. All right, so a little bit about me first. I know some of you in the room, and thank you for coming and listening to what I have to say. I really appreciate that. But for those of you that I don't know, I'm going to take just a little bit of time and tell you about me and how I got into this business. So I've been in the business for 6 years, and about 3 years ago, I got my broker's license. And probably 2 or so years ago, we formed the e-static team with me and Robbie Stone and Sam Graham, and then of course our assistant Robin Nelson. Before I started real estate, I was in medical software sales and training, and that was a grueling life, traveling out every Sunday and back on Thursday night. And it was a lot of fun to have an expense account, but no way to build a real life. And so real estate was something that I had always wanted to do. And so I just quit my job one day and jumped in. So I'm a little bit, I guess that's kind of crazy, right? I wanted to be in control of my schedule and build something that, I don't know, I wanted to build something that was successful. And one of my main goals in getting into this business was to build a rental portfolio that could cover our monthly expenses. And that goal would be a lot easier if my husband would stop upping our monthly expenses, but we're working toward it. So anyway, my very first year, I got really involved in my neighborhood. I live over in the McFerrin Park, Cleveland Park area. And back at that time, I mean, like I said, it was 6 or 7 years ago, I noticed that there was a gap in the market, that the property values over there were trending differently than the entire zip code, and were looking more like the 37206 zip code, which is the main zip code that everybody knows, kind of Laughlin Springs. So I started doing some reporting in the neighborhood groups about property values, and I mean, really rough stuff. And my stuff is still rough. Whatever. So anyway, I started building a little bit of notoriety by posting that I also hosted open houses and then purchased online leads for about 6 months. And then that first year in the business, we ended up doing 9 transactions. Me. And then this year in 2020, we closed out with around 37 transactions, about 12 million in volume. So a decent sized business, not Kelly Doherty like you heard in the sales meeting, but enough to at least keep things going. So after my first year, I dug in and I thought, I was kind of all over the place and trying to be everything to everybody. And I realized that it might be smarter to double down on this idea of our neighborhood and get involved with that. And selfishly, I also wanted to work in close proximity to my house. It's something, I don't know, it feels really good to me to be able to go put a sign in somebody's yard that's 3 or 4 doors down and drive by your listings every day and kind of give updates to your sellers. And I intentionally started to draw things in and make my world really small. And I use that as a benefit in my presentations too. I'm like, the people on my team, like we all live here, like the lenders that I recommend and all of the vendors that we recommend, I want those people to be people that I run into in the grocery store. Like I want them to have that kind of accountability that, they're going to have to do a good job because we're going to see each other. So just a little bit about all of that. So next up, your first year in real estate is super overwhelming. And even if you're past your first year, I find that every January is super overwhelming to me. Bobby Noreen used to talk about the cycle of the year and how different people look at the year in a different way. And our business is very much like celebrate a year as a set of time and your successes in that year. And so that's great. But what happens to me mentally in January, it's like I go from whatever my production was to 0. And that has some kind of mental effect on me. And so one of the things I like to do early January is start reading and pumping things into my head to kind of reprogram and realign my business for what I want to do for the year. And one of those books that I try to read on a regular basis is this, The E-Myth Revisited. And it presents this idea that in any entrepreneur's life, there are sort of 2 main hats that we wear. And one of those is obtaining and servicing our clients. And then the other is building our business or creating a sustainability plan. So you've probably heard this idea before. It's not new. The idea of working in your business and working on your business. And again, when you're new, that is a very difficult concept to understand because you're just trying to do anything to make yourself successful. And then as you get more successful, you're just trying to do more and more of that. And so it's really important to carve out the time to step back and look at the business and sort of retool things and make sure that they are on a path to success so that you can repeat and grow and scale. And this book, like I said, really helped me get my mind around some really good concepts in there. So I recommend that y'all check that out if you haven't already. And remember that you always are going to have two jobs in this business. So it's always going to be maintaining your business and you're running your systems, and then also out actually servicing clients. And again, this idea, well, it's really hard to do this. Usually I ask, who's been in the business, less than a year, 2 to 5 years, longer than 5. I saw all of you join, so I've got a pretty good idea. It looks like everybody in here is in the either less than 1 year or 2 to 5 years, and then a couple of longer than 5 years. But again, an idea that as your business picks up, the busyness and that busy work pick up. And so when you're a new agent, kind of on the left-hand side of this scale, you have a lot of time on your hands, fewer clients to service, lots of thinking time, which can be great and also dangerous. As you get to be more of a seasoned agent, you have more money usually than time. And so again, the mental shift of trying to buy back some time, buy off services, and kind of build and scale your business in that way. All right, so here's some of the nitty gritty, what we do, how we do it. So keeping with that idea that there's some low cost, moderate cost, higher cost options, I tried to break these down because don't think for a second that at day one of being a realtor, you can tackle all of these things. So again, those last 2 slides are an attempt to create this runway idea that you're going to do some of these things at the beginning and then kind of add on to that as your business grows, as you have more time to approach them, and in some cases more money. So year one, it's really super vitally important to organize your database and consistently reach out to those people that are in your database. I know it sounds really elementary, but it's something that we all struggle with. I was laying awake in the bed last night and thought, oh my God, I need to run a list of all my clients and just call them and check on them. Like, that's a novel idea. Like, you get so far away from the relationship piece of this business in some cases that it's really important just to turn back to that. Make a list of people that you've worked with or that and reach out to them and ask them how they're doing. You don't have to be salesy and ask for business necessarily. That all is going to come. So in the low cost new agent block of items, we do a newsletter every month. And again, this is training from Bobby Noreen, but we do an electronic newsletter. I know that Village now produces one of those for us. This year, one of my goals is to put video in that of me talking to my clients every month. We've seen a little bit of a higher open rate. And to do those 2 things, I actually use MailChimp for the newsletter, and I use the BombBomb product to embed the videos inside of that newsletter. Phone calls, we just talked about that, calling everybody either in your phone or in your sphere or that you've worked with. Door knocking, I don't do this. I did a little bit when I was first starting, again, building a neighborhood presence. I felt like that was really important. If I have a listing in my neighborhood, sometimes I'll knock the doors to the left, right, and across the street, or if I'm having an open house. This was pre-pandemic. I personally don't want anybody knocking on my door. I don't want to talk to people that way right now. So I don't do that to somebody else. And that's kind of my golden rule about marketing in general is I take a step back and think, okay, would this bother me? Like, would I be annoyed by this kind of approach for sales? And if the answer is yes, then I just don't do it. And that goes against some coaching things that are like, push through, do the things you hate. But That's not authentic to me. And so I just don't do it. Social media posts and sharing articles early on, just post about the market, post about properties that are coming available, especially now in a pandemic. People have, they're trapped in their houses. They're looking at their phones 24/7. They're annoyed by their family. Maybe I'm projecting, but they're very interested in what's going on outside of their closed in little world. And we have a unique opportunity, I think, to paint a picture and kind of, even if it's as simple as a house tour. I don't know how many clients specifically, but several of my clients this year have come from me doing that, just doing previews of listings that I thought were interesting. I had one client that called and said, hey, we were thinking about renovating our bathroom and putting in a bathtub, but actually that listing that you showed looks like it might be perfect for us. Can we go look at it? And that turned into $1 million worth of business just from putting yourself out there. And I guess it's also important to remember that the small, seemingly insignificant things like that actually turn into business. Like, it's not magic. You just have to be consistent with these things that you're doing, and the business comes. Maybe I need to remember that in January. I'll have to write that down. Engagement on social media. So not just blasting information out, but also asking for comments and then engaging in those. So creating kind of a back and forth with people. It ups your engagement, makes you look like a real person, not just a business hiding behind a social media account. Joining out public groups. So I mentioned that the neighborhoods of Cleveland Park, McFerrin Park, and Highland Heights are kind of my wheelhouse. So there are public neighborhood groups for that. So I recommend, joining those neighborhood groups and getting involved and talking to people and building relationships. There's a townhouse community up in Goodlettsville, that I have a rental property that I purchased in there, and there was no neighborhood group when I purchased. So I created one, invited all of those people to that. And I barely say anything in there for now, but I'm gonna attack one day soon. But lay in the weeds, like build your platform, and then it'll be ready for you when you want to engage. The marketing statistic videos, we already talked about that. They are, you can go out to my YouTube channel or on my business Facebook page and look at them. They are very simple. They look very much like this. And I just talk about what's going on in the market, specifically my neighborhood. The number of houses that have sold, the average price point, the appreciation year over year, that kind of stuff. I found that my neighbors are interested in that. And it builds this idea that I am the neighborhood expert. They call me to talk about all kinds of things, like, hey, I'm thinking about renovating my bathroom, or I'm thinking about building a garage with an apartment over it. Like, what do you think about that? So I look at those phone calls as a success metric from putting this information out there. I want to occupy space in their brain all the time, so that whenever they think of anything about their house, they're thinking about me. And then neighborhood meetups. So we do a lot of neighborhood events, neighborhood cleanups, that sort of thing. Just being present and posting on social media for those, again, just supporting the idea that I'm the expert. All of those things are pretty much free. So I think you could just take that block and attack it and be well on your way. Down in the moderate cost, some of the things we do are social media posts, like boosting those, obviously open houses, our BombBomb videos. And so I talked about putting BombBomb videos inside of our newsletter. We've also expanded that recently to a 30, 60, 90, 120-day campaign. So I recorded one video for each of those increments, and just we send that out in an email. And it goes a little something like, hey, it's Nick, we closed 30 days. Can you believe it's been a whole month? Like, if you need anything, let me know, whatever. I've got this list of vendors, like yada, 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 all that stuff. So on those 30, 60, 90, 120-day increments. And hiring virtual assistants. This is something that I did toward the end of my first year. And, hiring an assistant for me was an overwhelming concept. I didn't want the responsibility of having to pay someone when my own income was up and down and all over the place. And so it was a really easy step for me to hire someone that would just do pieces of my business that I wanted to outsource. And so for me, the first thing I did was hire someone that put my newsletter together. Again, that's a really easy thing, but I hated doing it. And so it wasn't consistently getting done. And I think I paid somebody like, I don't know, $25 a month or something just to put that together for me. And so finding little pieces of your business like that you don't like to do, and finding somebody that will do them for you at a cost, and then they consistently will get done. And then DIY mail campaigns. So, just a home valuation for your neighbors, that kind of stuff that you could send out mail pieces. And then in the higher cost, we've recently moved to doing every door direct postcard services, hosting client happy hours, professionally filmed videos. We've done some of that, and photo shoots for campaigns, CRMs that do automatic follow-up, and hiring a full-time assistant, and then sending out magnet calendars. So those are some of the things that we do like in the past year. Every door direct is a mail service through the post office, and they charge you per postal route, which is a little different than per zip code, but it was just another layer in my strategy of reaching out to the neighborhood. I can't see the chat window, so if you have questions, I don't know. Let me look at that.
I can help you there. Sorry, Nick. Emily had a question on BombBomb video.
Okay, Emily, what's your question?
Emily had a question in the chat. It said, what is BombBomb video? Could you give us a quick overview of what you're...
Sorry, yes. So BombBomb Video is just a paid service. They allow you to use your phone or your camera on your computer, create a video, and then plug it into an email. So it's you can do this without using BombBomb, but there are tracking metrics that are included. It also embeds the video inside of an email. So you've probably gotten one of these from a lot of the home warranty companies are using them now, but it has a banner across the bottom that says click here to play, and it has your face on it. And so it comes into their email box, and you're like this, and they click play, and then you start talking to them. Like I said, there's tracking metrics in it, and you can also create drip campaigns inside of that. I don't use it for that, but it's a really seamless product to be able to record and then drop videos into different things.
Another question we had come in from Florence is, what do you do instead of happy hours now during the pandemic?
Nothing. I thought about doing a virtual happy hour, but then using my golden rule of would I be annoyed by that? The answer is yes. There is no way I want to sit in front of a computer and like yak it up with a bunch of people. I mean, no offense to y'all. I love you all. But that just doesn't seem authentic to me. So instead of that, I just reach out to my clients. Like I either call them or email them or send them a quick BombBomb video and say, hey, I had you on my mind. Like, how's it going? How's homeschooling going? Like, are you and your wife or husband driving each other crazy? Like, you got any tips? Because that's what's going on in my house. Like, we all have had the unique experience this year to really have a shared experience of crazy, right? And it manifests itself in different ways in all of our lives. So I've just used that to create conversation with people. And people have responded really well to it. Also, I call and talk about interest rates. And, for my clients that have been in their homes for 2 to 5 years or more, like, we've been able to save people lots of money by refinancing or taking out a HELOC to buy an investment property, or just any of those things that you do on a day-to-day basis in your business. Like, call and chat with people, and even if you don't connect with them, they don't pick up the phone or whatever, I mean, leave a quick message or send a text. I mean, I know for me, like, it means so much more this past year for people to reach out and say, hey, I had you on my mind. Like, how's it going? You doing okay? Like, that's really easy to do. So I've just been doing that kind of stuff. One thing that we did alter this year a little bit for COVID was our photo event. And so what that is, every year in the fall, usually October, November, we hire a photographer, we have snacks at the East office, we schedule our clients to come and have a professional photographer shoot family portraits in the park across the street. And so we did that last year and the year before, and the whole snacks and being in the East office part this year we did not do. We had some take with you snacks out on the front porch, and we sort of built a barricade around the porch so people came around and we checked them in and then they went across the street. So we were still able to deliver that experience and that service for our clients, but kind of adhering to the social distancing and masking and making sure everybody felt safe. And we probably had more people this year do that than in our previous years. So the slide we're looking at now talks about just the things that we do on a daily, weekly basis, and then the things we do on a monthly basis. And I already talked about all of these items in the previous slide, but the main focus here is create a sustainability plan. So, if you look at your schedule and you realize you don't have time to do all of these things in a week, then don't start something that you're not going to be able to consistently do. I think that's one of the biggest struggles in this business is, we do things that sort of create business for us, and then we're not able to keep doing them. And then that creates the wave of clients and income and stress. So do one thing consistently. And then when you get that down, add another thing on, and one of the mantras in our business is do everything as if it sets the precedent for the next time you do it. So seeking perfection always, even though we never obtain it, but never being scared to look at a process or look at an event and just completely retool it if it's not working. We are entrepreneurs, so we are building planes always as we're flying them. And the environment around us is changing. Again, this year has been a really good example of that, examining things that can be done differently and being able and willing to be creative and pivot in our businesses is very important. One other thing is staying top of mind with your vendors. So this is a really important thing that I think a lot of people might overlook. So my painter and my handyman and my home warranty company and my title attorney, I want to make sure that if they ever have the opportunity to refer business, that I'm at least in their top 2 or 3 people that they're sending business to. I don't have any way of knowing that, but I can control some of that by consistently reaching out to them, writing them handwritten notes, treat them like you treat your clients, stay top of mind with those people. And the interesting thing is that, they come in contact with a lot more people that are ready and willing and able to buy, sell, or invest because of the nature of their businesses. So that's been a successful thing for me, is just try to stay in front of those people. And I have several referrals a year from each of those kinds of vendors, just something that you could overlook. What we do yearly, and then what we do in our community. So again, these are things that we have already talked about in that previous slide, but yearly we send out birthday cards through a service called AM Cards, and it automates that process to an extent. And then we send out home sale anniversary to past clients and their spouses. We did a Dining Out for Life charity event every year, but of course with COVID that was canceled. But that is something that of course we're going to get right back on as soon as we're able to do that. Past client interviews, converted those into content. So we do that either with video and just asking them questions. I had a grand plan of interviewing my clients at the closing table and then using that as content. That has turned into a more aggressive email campaign asking for reviews. And so we do that before the transaction closes. And then if we haven't gotten a review from them, we continue to send out requests at similar intervals to our 30, 60, 90 day. And we've had really good luck with that. I'm asked a lot, like, where do you get these reviews? Where do you want them on Google? Do you want them on Facebook? Do you want them on Yelp? I don't care. I just want people to review me because chances are, there's the theory that you should build them all up on one platform. I don't know that I believe that is as successful as just having a smattering on all platforms. And we've recently been getting really good results with Yelp reviews. And we also take that content, whatever they say in the review, and turn it into a social media post. And I hate bragging, or I hate that appearance, but it's important that people know that you do this job and you do it well, and people like what you're producing. So I try to just grit my teeth and let it happen, but it makes me really uncomfortable. So settlement statements, we send those out at the end of the year. So anybody that closed in 2020, by the end of this month, they're going to get their settlement statement again. It is used for tax purposes, and again, just another really easy way to touch those clients and stay top of mind. And it's attached to an email that says, hey, you closed a transaction with us this past year. Thank you for your business. Hope you're doing well. You're going to need this for your taxes. Like, here it is. And I try to get it out to them before the end of January, because that's when all of the tax stuff starts coming. So I try to beat the rush on that and get a little bit more mind share. Happy hours we talked about. And then one thing I've done in the past is live stream the city council debate for my district. And this was obviously you can't do this every year because there's not a city council race, but we were finding that there wasn't a lot of engagement in our district because the debates would happen at an odd time or at the police station, and a lot of people are uncomfortable going to the police station. So we came up with this idea to hire a professional videographer that could come in and set up his equipment and host that event and broadcast it live out to our business page. So I didn't really support any of the candidates publicly. I just wanted to provide the service so that people could see what was going on. And again, that's been probably 2 years ago now, I think, but we had a lot of engagement from that, and a lot of people rewatching it and just saying, hey, thanks for doing this. It means a lot that I was able to be involved in the process. So I encourage you to, once you start building, if you choose to do this path, building a community like that, think about things that you can do in service of those people. And then hopefully karma says that when it's time to buy or sell, they'll think of you and reach back out to you. That community list.
I think that's a brilliant idea, Nick. I mean, politics obviously have never been more mainstream and top of mind than they are right now. And I think even if it's not a council, running, if it's just even about a hearing, right? Like a general council hearing on a local neighborhood issue, you hosting something like that is just another way to broaden reach and show you're involved. I mean, you don't even have to take a stance, but I love that opportunity to sort of I think everyone wants to know a bit more, not everyone, excuse me, but a lot of people want to be more involved in what's happening politically in their country and community and local. And this just gives a way in which to help bring it to them, because there are obviously the council meetings and districts and issues they are online and they are being streamed. And so you can just help bring a catalyst to bring that to them. So I think that's a great idea. I had one question about, you mentioned before you move on, sorry, about your mailings. I think you mentioned a service or a company, and I didn't catch the name of that.
So two different things. The postcards that we send out, we use Every Door Direct, and we've partnered with Alpha Graphics for the printing on that. And then for the birthday cards, we use AM Cards.
AM Cards, okay.
Yeah, and there's a ton of different services out there for each of those things. We've found that those work the best for us.
Yep, cool, thank you. Appreciate you recapping that.
Sure. And then on the community side of things, the portrait event, we talked about that. The community yard sale that we host is probably one of our bigger events. We've been able to add about 150 unique people to the database every time we do this event. And I can dig into the specifics of that, but it's something, it's a community yard sale. So again, that same defined area, we ask people if they want to be involved. They sign up using a Google form with their name, email address, phone number. That gets added immediately to the database. We put their address on a map, and then we distribute those maps to those people and then to the entire community if they've requested them. And then on the day of the yard sale, I kind of went around to all of the sales and introduced myself and took some pictures for social media. And that was something that we did this year in the pandemic too. I was a little concerned about how that was going to translate but it worked out perfectly. I mean, the weather was great, and it's an outside event, and again, the community getting involved, and people seemed really hungry for something to do. So it went really well. And then we took that concept and we also created 2 additional events out of it, the trick or treat map and the chalk contest. And so the trick or treat map, again, same thing. We asked the neighbors, are you interested in handing out candy? Yes or no. If you are, fill out this form, name, address, name, email address, phone number. And then we plotted those homes on a map and then distributed the map electronically. So we didn't even print the maps out for that one. My neighborhood is a little different, transitional, sketchy sometimes. So it is a huge advantage to parents to have a list of homes that are interested in participating in handing out candy and are safe and committed to providing a safe experience for the kids. So that was another great success. And then in the spring, we did a community chalk contest. And again, same concept. Are you interested? Take a picture of a chalk drawing that you or your kid did and post it on social media. And then we had people vote. And I think the prize was like a gift card to the Redheaded Stranger, a local restaurant in the neighborhood. So again, just things like this that get the community involved, and my information and my contact information and branding is on all the things that go out. And that's that. Christmas cards and holiday magnet calendars or whatever, I send those out every year. And then last year we did happy spring cards, and I will never do that again. It was awful. We bought this seed paper that was supposed to grow plants. It was a nightmare. Robin almost quit from having to run them all through the printer. So I wouldn't recommend that, but you might take that idea and create something better out of it.
I think the broker did quit in East because of that. So thanks, y'all.
Just because of that, yeah.
Just because. I'm kidding. I don't think the printer was ever the same though, and it never showed Daisy. So. They do. I did do something similar to that. You can buy the packets that are already pre-packaged, and it has like a graphic on it, like "Let's Grow Together," and it can be a self-mailer. So you can buy those packets of seeds and just put labels on the back and put a stamp on it, and the whole thing is a self-mailer. If you wanted to do something like that,
that is a much better idea. So this is a screenshot just from our blog. Every month we post with those neighborhood stats. Again, I put this in here just to show you that it's just rough data that's a little bit polished with some easier to understand language, and then literally a screenshot of the search from the MLS. So we post that out, and then we do a version of that with the different stuff that we put out into the neighborhood groups with the videos. And then here is an example of our yard sale map. So again, our branding and our information kind of on the top of it, all of the homes posted there. And then on the back side, just a list of addresses. And I think that year we included some of the highlights of items that they had. And I also publicized this event. We put it out into the Very Scary East Nashville Facebook group, and then some of the other buy, sell, trade groups around the city. And we had a really good turnout. So.
And I guess I just want to add to it is in with much of these things that you're looking at, right? The point isn't the event. The point is, it's the invitation.
Yeah, that's a really solid point, Teddy. Is that the metric for success for us was not how many people were involved, but we had, 30 people on this list sign up to host a yard sale. So we got all of those people's contact information. And then I'm going to guess 100 or 150 people that wanted maps mailed to or emailed to them. So adding those people into the database, and now we have them on a list, and we alert them of neighborhood events, and we update them about stuff that's going on in the neighborhood. So kind of segregating your people and then kind of staying in front of them. There's some
things you could do with this community yard sale. Like now you could have branded water at every one of those events. I mean, it gives you entree to put your name or your thing or your flag, even if you use an open house flag, and disposable ones or something, but it allows you, it just gives you permission to put your branding at 30 sites or whoever signed up for this, so that people see, because then they know, oh, this is one of the, they're looking for identification, that is this the place that I was told about? Is this the place that I know about? So if they saw the logo or the sign that this is one of Nick's community, this is one of Nick's yard sales, then there's a greater level of comfort and community that's brought there. So I think there's a lot that can with that too, that I'm sure you're doing too.
Yeah, I feel like you cheated by reading some of my notes. So that was kind of what I was going to say next. So one of the things that we did.
You never said your notes. I didn't cheat. I'm so sorry, Nick.
So one of the things that we did for the people that participated is create goodie bags that were in a branded bag. There were yard sale signs in there, candy, branded water, pricing stickers, and obviously extra maps, a little bio about me and the team, business cards, that sort of thing. Cost on that event was, we spent about $100 for the materials for those bags. And then we spent around $40 boosting the post. So $140 for 150 or so people to add to your database. Like, I think it's worth it. Okay. And then this is an example of some of the postcards that we sent out. One thing about this, so this is a strategy that I only implemented around 2 years ago. And I recommend, again, with consistency, be prepared to consistently do this if this is something that you think you want to do. And also be comfortable with not really knowing if it's effective or not. There are some ways to track this. But with my strategy of just creating a presence in the neighborhood, I send out one postcard a month, and it is sometimes something that has sold in the neighborhood. Sometimes it's just a little bit about me or like a proof of success piece. And sometimes it's just, you know, that dog icon with my picture on it. Like, it doesn't have to be grand. It costs around $500 a month to send out to 1,800 residences. So it is not cheap to do this. I've partnered with a lender that helps out with the cost of that. But again, I can track business back to this directly, but then there's also a lot of referral business that comes from this because of people, seeing my name in their mailbox at least once a month. This is not a strategy for everyone to implement, but I think if you do it strategically and do it correctly, that it can be an added layer in your business. And that's all I have. Again, we're always looking at the things that we're doing and trying to be better and come up with more and better ideas. One other thing, and this is again not a new idea, but the idea of sourcing your business at the end of the calendar year. So one of the things that we do early January is look back at all of the clients that we've worked with over the past year and identify where they came from. And it's a pretty simple exercise, but it is super insightful, and it will allow you to direct how you spend your marketing dollars in a more effective manner. So for example, if I'm spending, and I don't do this, but if I'm spending thousands of dollars a month on Zillow leads or online leads or boosting ads, and I can't track any business back to that, then it might be smart to rethink that in the next year. Likewise, if I'm spending $500 a year on neighborhood events and I'm getting 80% of my client base or business from that, then it's smarter to reallocate those dollars toward those kinds of events because they're having a higher return. And so one example of that is that I work with an investor client in the neighborhood, and we looked back, and this year alone, they were responsible directly or indirectly for 8 transactions, $1 million in business. So, those people are really valuable to me. I want to make sure they're happy. I want to make sure they're not coming to one of you guys to work with y'all. So what I did was we did a really special thing for them for Christmas and bought them an all expense paid trip to this place that their family wanted to go. and they were just, falling all over themselves about how great this was. It wasn't that much of an expense for me, but that's certainly not something that you would want to do for every one of your clients. But if people are pumping you 5 or 10 deals a year, treat them special. Make sure they know that you love them and you don't want them to go anywhere else. So that's it. I still can't see the chat for some reason.
I'll share. We had a couple questions, and thank you, Nick. We'll wrap here shortly. Question. Let's see here. Who's doing your postcard design?
We do that in-house. So Robin and Caitlin work together on that, and then I sort of give the final check mark on it. We use Canva for the design, and there are design parameters that you have to adhere to if you're doing every door direct. So that's kind of how we do the process. Also, though, I talked later last year about that list reports product that Connie co-sponsors for us, and they produce postcards out of that product as well. So that might be a free, easy way for you to accomplish that.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know Robin. I think Robin answered in the chat there. For those that can't see the chat, that'll be made available with the recording, so you'll have a chance to read all this. How much time each week are you dedicating to all this, Robin?
I was going to say that's not really a fair question, because now I have a full-time assistant that helps with a lot of this stuff. And I think to the point of the question, and kind of that idea of working in and on your business, these are not things that I could have accomplished year one, because I didn't have the time to do it, and I didn't have the money to do it. So I think just creating a plan for yourself, and as you are able to build to those things, do so.
Yeah.
That was a non-answer answer, but it's the best I got.
How much time, well, I guess I would say, what would you, beyond consistency, what would you say has been the key to this working? Or is it simply consistency?
I think it is consistency paired with paying really close attention to what you're putting inside of your ears. So staying in front of your own mental game. And I know that sounds like a woo-woo crazy answer, but y'all, this business, it will chew you up and spit you out every single day if you let it. So I try to pay a lot of attention and be really careful about the amount of news I'm consuming, the podcasts that I'm listening to. There are tons of free resources out there of other realtors that are doing this at a more successful level than me, and much higher production, and they have great ideas that are free that they just talk about on the internet. So just continuing to kind of plug in and put that good in your head, and being kind to yourself and giving yourself a lot of grace. Sometimes I get really upset if I lose a listing or a client leaves me or whatever. It's hard to not take that kind of stuff personal. So I keep thank you notes that people write me. And sometimes when I'm having a day, I'll read through those and remind myself that I'm not as shitty as I think I am. That's probably not the answer you were looking for, but it's been helpful to me.
The answer I'm looking for, Nick. I'm just reminded how grateful I am for you, and how similar I would say that I feel that we are, and that with the way you started this class today about the new year, I'm a zero again. Everything I did last year, and I look up at the hill of production of everything I did for me mentally, it starts over, and it's daunting. And it's like, how am I going to sell 20 homes this year, 2 homes this year? It's just, you may even have a few things in the works, but managing all that input is really important, because as I look left and right, and I look at your marketing and all the things you shared today, and they're all wonderful ideas that I want to be and should be doing, it's easy to get defeated a bit. And so I really appreciate you putting extra emphasis on that as being part of the key. It's so much of it is mindset. It is so much mindset. Nick, would you share some of the things and sources that you mentioned that eMyth Revisited? Are there any other podcasts or books or things that you could recommend to our agent team on here today?
Sure. Question for you though. How many years have you been doing this?
I'm coming up on 20 years.
Okay. So I think that's an important footnote, y'all, is that, I'm 6 years in, Ted's forever in, like that never goes away. So it's really important to stay on top of that stuff. So I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen when I'm in the shower, I listen on my way to work. Tom Ferry has a ton of good content out there that's free. He's a little bit over the top for me, but there are great podcasts out there that he produces. I love the Brian Buffini show. I love the way he talks about business. His whole thing is a referral-based business and, staying kind of keeping in control of what's going on in here and a service-based approach to this all. I listen to Bigger Pockets because I'm interested in investing. And so there's been some really good nuggets out there through the Bigger Pockets podcast. I don't agree with his politics, but the Entree Leadership podcast that the Dave Ramsey organization puts out is hosted by one of his personalities. I can't remember who it is, but they interview some like really high level people that talk about running really high level organizations. And, I've got 2 people that I manage, and there's a lot of insight that you can gain from the corporate world. So those are a couple off the top of my head. That list is ever evolving. Oh, and Brene Brown just came out with a podcast too, like, I don't know, within the last year or so. I'm a big fan of hers. I don't know, she speaks my language. Again, I'm a little bit into the woo-woo. So if you want to check some of her stuff out.
And Melly put on here, Day One, $0 is another good one. What I'll consider is putting somewhere on the Village exclusive Facebook, maybe we can have a place where people could just post recommendations. I'm looking at many ways in which we can increase just the knowledge sharing. And right, the easiest platform we have is the Village Facebook exclusive. I know not everyone gets on there or is on Facebook all the time, but that is sort of the best place right now that we have for a platform for sharing. So I encourage you to continue to do that. And I just want to thank Nick so much for your, so I'll give him a huge hand, please, for your authenticity and just your excellence in our craft, right? You certainly are. It shocked me when you said you've been in this business 6 years. That is mind blowing to me, Nick. You have been a rock star since very, very early in this game, and you stood out and you took a lot of pride in the things that how you run your business and how you deliver it and the integrity of your designs and all those things. So thank you for your generosity to be so transparent and share that with us. And the important reminder for us all to take care of ourselves mentally and emotionally, because this business will attack everything, any spot crack in your armor. It will find it, it will exploit it. And if you all ever need any resources or someone to talk to, or you're dealing with those breakdowns, I'm not a therapist, but I've seen plenty, and I've been through plenty of the highs and lows of this business, and would be happy to share all the resources available on how to make it. So absolutely. Any parting thoughts, questions for Nick before we go? This is your chance. All right, he's in the attic if you ever want to find him. And again, thank you so much, Nick. 1023, awesome job, great presentation. Go have a great beginning of 21, y'all. Thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you, Nick, and Robin, for sure.